fantastic day.
National Geographic were looking to make a three-part series on Indian wildlife, and they were very interested in doing three different ecosystems. They want to do one on the grassland ecosystem, one in the central Indian forests, and one on the desert. And they approached us to do this three-part series, and that's how the idea of Secrets of Wild India came about. Each episode had a different character, a different animal that was the lead character, an animal that kind of shapes the ecosystem. That's how the whole idea came about. So the first episode was about elephants, and we shot that in Kasiranga. The second episode was about tigers, which was in central India. And the third one was lions and in the desert. Actually, we were sitting down and discussing how to do this film and how to integrate it into a series. There should be some theme, something that holds the whole thing together. So we were thinking maybe through colors. Like we have the greens of the grasslands, we have the oranges of the central Indian forest, and the white sands of the desert. And then suddenly we realized that it actually can match with our national flag, with the top of the flag being the orange and the tiger, the white part being the desert, and the bottom being the green. So we suddenly had this great idea of using the national flag as the openings for every sequence. So if you see the title sequence, we have the national flag with these animals coming in, and the title sequence of Wild India also coming through. When we landed in Tadoba, we were very excited. This was going to be the first big tiger shoot, and we were really looking forward to start filming there. And we went around the park, scouted the whole area. I think it looked very optimistic, but we had gone there early March. It was people said that is the time when you start seeing tigers. That's when the real sightings go up. We had spent nearly 10 days going in and around the park, and we had absolutely no sightings at all. Even if we got sightings, it would be a tail here or just a little bit of the flanks. And with like 40 to 45 days of filming and 10 days gone without any sightings, we all started getting very nervous. We didn't know whether we were going to get anything that we wanted to. We got some beautiful stuff of other things, but absolutely no tiger. And we started getting cold feet. We were wondering whether Tadoba was the right decision. But in that time, we had really got to understand the patterns. We had, from talking to tourists and the guides there, we knew how the tigers behaved. Usually they're very active early in the mornings and late in the evenings, and they rest right through the day. And we also knew the prime locations where they usually spend the day. So this afternoon, what we did was we knew that the tiger was resting in one location, so we went there and waited. And usually the tigers come out around 5:30 in the evening, but this guy came out much earlier. Like it was almost 4 in the evening when this guy decided to come out. It was this big, beautiful male. And the first thing he did was he got out of the bush and came straight towards us. We just scrambled and got into position, and I was so nervous and excited about shooting the first tiger. And it really shows in that shot. And it didn't stop there. The tiger went on and he went around the reservoir there, and he started scent marking. He swam across the reservoir. So we almost got an hour with the tiger, which is like absolute gold. And we were so excited when the whole thing finished. In fact, we went back and partied that evening. While we were filming there, we came to know about this tigress with a single cub, which we really wanted to film. But the tigress was very shy, and she really didn't bring the cub out. So she was always hiding behind vegetation. So 2-3 times we tried to locate her, but we couldn't. But eventually we knew where she was and that she was sleeping. So we took position in a particular point, and I could see a little bit of her. It was like this little window through which I could see bits of her where she was lying down. So I took position there, and I was trying to get some shots of her sleeping and lying around and going on her back. Then a few minutes later, the cub came out. The cub was lying elsewhere, but then it came out, and it was really beautiful. It kind of brushed with the female and then started suckling, and it was really beautiful to see that. I finished filming the sequence, and then suddenly I took my eyes off the viewfinder, and I saw there were 20 jeeps on either side of me. I was like sandwiched between like 40 vehicles, and we just couldn't move. We had absolutely bang on in terms of position, and I got the sequence. But when I shot the sequence, I wasn't sure if I really liked it because we were shooting through vegetation and there was lots of things, foliage in between. It was like a veil of vegetation behind which the whole thing was happening. But then the director really loved the sequence and made it into the film. The whole thing, everything that I shot, made it into the film. And it kind of captures the spirit of the animal, the hidden animal, the cubs behind vegetation. So it was actually quite a magical thing. Even though this film is called Tiger Jungles, we were very clear from the beginning that this had to have other elements to it. It's not just about tigers. We wanted to show the biodiversity of this ecosystem, essentially. So we were always looking for stories other than tigers or large mammals to show to the audience. And very interestingly, we used to drive through certain sections of the park, and we used to wait for tigers in some parts, and we'd find that suddenly felt like it was raining. We used to get wet just sitting in that position. I mean, we were very intrigued, and we used to ask the guide. We once asked the guides as to why that happened, and he said it's because of cicadas. What they do is they drink up the sap from the bark, and they excrete out water. And there's so many cicadas there, like there are hundreds and thousands of them, that just by sitting there you could get wet. We found it extremely fascinating, and we thought we should make a little sequence out of this whole thing. The thing is, cicadas are really small, absolutely, they are almost an inch long. And one of the biggest problems filming in Tadoba is that you cannot get off the vehicle. So you always have to do all your filming from a vehicle. So trying to do a macro sequence, staying inside a vehicle of an animal that's 1 inch is the biggest challenge. So what we had to do was we used to drive up right next to a tree that had lots of cicadas, and then set up and start shooting. And very often they're very high up in the canopy, so we had to shoot upwards. Luckily, we had good lenses, so we could reasonably get what we wanted, even though I would have loved to get tighter close-ups. But the behavior itself was very interesting. So the cicada goes up to the bark, it starts sucking the sap, and almost immediately it also starts excreting water. So now you have this interesting line of action happening. We got some shots of the whole process, and also of the rain. You could just sit there and feel like it's raining. We could see in the backlight, we can see the water droplets falling down. So we got the whole sequence doing this thing, but it was quite a difficult sequence to shoot. But what we also did was we used to find animals outside the park where you could get off, and that's where we got some of the close-ups. Right through our filming period, we were trying to get shots of this tigress with 4 cubs, but we never got good opportunities because she was very shy, and almost always she was behind vegetation, or she would go away when vehicles moved in. So we never got to shoot it. But come summer, and with water being such an important factor, I think she gave up her shyness. So she used to spend a lot of time in this particular water hole. And I kept dreaming of getting this shot of her with the cubs, all 5 animals in a water hole. But the trouble was, this water hole was slightly in a deep position, so we could see the animals from the road, but when they got into the water, we could not see them. So we were trying to persuade the forest department to give us permission to sit in a machan so that we could film the whole thing. It took a lot of negotiation, and it was it built up into a great climax, because on the last day of filming, they gave us permits to sit on the machan. And in that one day, I think I got the dream sequence of this film. I had the most amazing morning here. I'm sitting on this machan, and there's a water hole there which is frequented by a tigress with 4 cubs. This morning she was a little disturbed, but then she kept coming in and out. I got some shots of the cub and the mother together, drinking and lying in the water. It's just too beautiful. When we started off this project, we kind of accepted the fact that filming tigers could be difficult. We had to deal with a lot of issues. But when we hit the field, we were kind of surprised by the other things that we had to go through. The one thing was that we were filming like tourists. We had to go on tourist times, go in the mornings, come back later in the morning, then go back in the afternoon, and then film till the evening. So essentially, in a day, we were getting like 4 to 5 hours of filming time, which is like absolutely nothing. No, we would ideally like to spend from dawn to dusk filming tigers, but we weren't getting the time that we wanted. And also because we were doing the same routes as tourists, what happened was very soon the tourists realized that wherever the filming crew was, that's where the tiger was. So you go and park your jeep, and within a few minutes you'll have 10 vehicles on either side. So very soon it became an issue for us because no, you would park up, you would be in position to film a tiger, and then you'll have 10 vehicles on either side of you, and then the tiger would move, and then you're stuck. No, you don't have your position. So it was quite difficult trying to get good positions to film and maintaining good positions, and also timing also. No, because I know we'd like to make a good film, you need to be there at the right time, and also no, be there early in the mornings and late in the evenings when that's when the most behavior happens. But we were kind of compromised on that. As a wildlife cameraman, I think you bring a lot to the storytelling process, more so over here than in any other field of filmmaking. I think that's largely because a wildlife cameraman spends a lot of time on the field. In fact, he's alone most of the time. There's no director telling them what to do. And most of the storytelling happens based on what happens in front of you. Like if an animal is behaving and if there's something happening, that's the story. And how you document it is the storytelling part of it. So you need to understand how to build the sequence, what are the shots you need to tell the story. So that understanding and that execution happens on the field, and it cannot be controlled. And that's a solo process. Only the cameraman can do that. So I think a cameraman plays a very important role in storytelling when it comes to wildlife filmmaking. From where we started to where we finished the film and the shoot and the way the film turned out, I think it's a film that I'll always remember. The first 10 days was really frustrating. No, we didn't get any tigers. No, we had very little footage. And then things slowly started to pick up, and then with the progress of summer, we started getting some really great sequences. So I think emotionally also we changed. No, we were quite nervous when we started off, but when we finished, we were quite elated, especially after the last sequence that we got with the cubs. I think we were very thrilled about how the whole thing went on. Usually, when you go back, you have about 60 to 70 tapes for a film, but when we finished Tadoba, we only had 45 tapes, which is like 20 to 25 hours of footage. I think that left the director a little nervous because he wasn't sure there's going to be enough footage to finish the film. But when they started editing and when he started looking at the footage, he was really thrilled, and he said, no, I think there was more than enough to do this film. So I think it ended well. And for me, I think it was a great experience to do a tiger film and to be so close to such a beautiful cat and be a part of its life. So I think I'll always carry Tadoba as a very special little film in my heart because it's my first tiger film.